Hello, everyone. I'm Laura Walker, OracleReport.com. It's Wednesday, April 3rd, 2019. This is part two of the Pisces cycle 2019, the Exalted Experience, I called it. And it's the finale of the astrological year. The new astrological year begins on Friday, April 5th, which is a correction from the recording because I had said it was April 6th. I hope you had some exaltation this past cycle. This was the last cycle of the year. The Pisces cycle is the last cycle of the astrological year. And so it closes out the year that began on April 15th, 2018 at the Sabian symbol of through imagination, a lost opportunity is regained. And so we're in the final days of that. We're in the last of this astrological year, and we are approaching sunset because the Sabian symbol for the new astrological year is fairies dancing in the setting sun. So, what I want to do is put a bow on this year because I think it was quite a blessing, and I hope that you have come to the place where you're prepared for the new beginning, as we talked about at the beginning of the month, what Pisces cycles are all about. Before we look back at this cycle to see how close we came with the astrology and how that all played out, I want to take us first back a little bit to look at something that's having a huge impact, and that is the total lunar eclipse from January 21st, 2019. That was, remember that was the super full blood moon eclipse, the super bad. We'll call that one super bad. It's in effect until July 16th. Eclipses are in effect for 6 months. And if you were listening, or if you were listening to Oracle Report, then you might remember that I talked about that was going to cause a lot of divide and conquer within interpersonal relationships and just within the macro level of the world. And the reason for that is that the total eclipse there occurred at the Sabian symbol of under emotional stress, blood rushes to a man's head. So it's very reactive, uncontained energy, impulsivity. And to get the full understanding of what the any eclipse energy is about, you don't just what any lunar eclipse is about. We don't just look at the Sabian symbol for the moon. We go back to the new moon for that month, which was on January 6th, and we look at the degree of the sun and the moon, the conjunction there that made that new cycle. So the Capricorn cycle began on January 6th, and the Sabian symbol was school grounds filled with boys and girls in gymnasium suits, one we know very well. And this is where we see the other half of that eclipse energy. We have to take both of those Sabian symbols and put them together to pinpoint what it was really about, because we can see, yeah, there has been a lot of reactionary behavior, a lot of infighting. Oh my goodness, within the truthers. Oh, just so disappointing and sad, all of that, the infighting that occurred, that has been occurring since then, and particularly over this last cycle. And a lot of that was because of that school grounds filled with boys and girls in gym suits. It brings up a lot of testosterone and a lot of competition and showing off and um, chest beating, and the um, rush to the head, things coming at us so fast. So this is that divide and conquer element of the eclipse, like I said, is in effect until July 16th. We'll reach the pinnacle of it, and then in April, and it will begin to kind of wane in its wave, because the divide and conquer is the primary method that the archons and their minions of the New World Order use to weaken us and disempower us. And it's all about ego. And so with outside of the truth community, how that plays out as divide and conquer, you might have seen in your life since January, because that's split people, or maybe the better way to say that is reshuffled relationships and who we spend our time with, and um, actually even things coming up under emotional stress, people having reactions under emotional stress and then having life changing effects from that. The next eclipse, the next lunar eclipse, as I said, it's going to be a partial lunar eclipse, and that'll be on July 16th. So the two energetics that will make up that eclipse are the new moon, which is a total solar eclipse in July on July 2nd. That will be at a clown caricaturing well-known personalities that always overblows and exaggerates things, which enables us to see it. Then the lunar eclipse will occur at the Sabian symbol on July 16th at an oriental rug dealer in a store filled with precious oriental rugs, ornamental rugs, excuse me. And that's about refinement. And so so from this overblowing, things becoming so overblown and exaggerated, what will come from that over the last half of that Gregorian year, from July till December or January. I do not know when the eclipses after that are. I haven't looked at that. We don't want to go too far into the future right now. Um, it's going to bring back a revaluation, a refinement, and I fully expect for us to see some economic reevaluation by the end of this eclipse cycle on July 16th. Okay, eclipses take things away. I talked about that at the time. I don't usually like to cover them because I do so much work with the black moon, and that just is kind of enough for me. But they're important, and plenty of people cover eclipses out there. So keep it in mind that it's the energetic, it's the way that that eclipse is happening. It was such a massive, convergence of events for that to be a super full blood moon, and it was powerful. So we're in it, and we're aware, and we're not going to participate. The thing about this we don't want to just have to click off and move along from people, but when we feel like we need to do that, we need to do that, and that's okay. You might feel like that with Oracle Report now. Okay, so let's take a look back at the Pisces new moon, the exalted experience. It was designed to bring us from confusion to understanding. The Sabian symbol was 16 Pisces. So the energetic that we have been working all month is, in a quiet moment, a creative individual experiences the flow of inspiration. You might remember that I called it a super Pisces new moon because the new moon in Pisces was conjunct Neptune in its home sign of Pisces. Neptune was 1 degree off of conjunction with the new moon at an Easter promenade. And so the flow of spirit, the inner world, spiritual infusion, dreams, things were so very confusing and uncertain and full of questions at the beginning of the month. And if you remember, I talked about as the month would proceeded, we would become more and more clear about things. And that from that infusion, some type of rebirth or a finding faith again was that's the higher octave coming out of the energetics of the astrology for the month. So it was one thing we need to remember, wise owls. The Sabian symbol of in a quiet moment a creative individual experiences the flow of inspiration. We also brings the opposite, noise. So much noise. Noise, had to tune out. So much of it. I hope you were able to find and make some quiet moments. Did you learn things that have broadened or changed your life or your view or your perspective? I hope so. Um, Neptune and Piscean energy is both cloudy and very clear. And so we move in between between being very unsure and uncertain and things being very foggy or in the dreamland and the mists and we can't really make things out to come to the most clarity, to gain an understanding. So some information, the flow of inspiration should have come to us. It certainly did for me. I was much, I had a lot of questions about a lot of things at the beginning of the cycle, and as we complete it now, we're in the last days of it, so many things, all those questions have really solidified for me, and I have some understanding. I hope it went that way for you too. Do you remember that Mercury went retrograde the day of the new moon, and it was retrograde from March 6th through March 27th. It was about making things rock solid. Okay, so during that time, communications, electronics, telecommunications, problems with not knowing where you stand, or if you were appreciated. Did anyone, do we feel like we are on solid foundation? The Sabian symbol was the majestic rock formation. That's 30 degrees of Pisces. Shall I read that all again? It's kind of important. I guess we should. It's the longest Sabian symbol. That Mercury retrograde was trying to have us focus our vision on a higher ideal, and from it become very solid, to become rock solid about where we were going, which was perfect timing for the last cycle of the year to get us where we need to be to start a brand new astrological year. So that the energy of that was the Sabian symbol of a majestic rock formation resembling a face, is idealized by a boy who takes it up as his ideal of greatness, and as he grows up, begins to look like it. It's about it's the last degree of the zodiac. It's about completion, culmination, and idealization, which means thinking positively, doesn't it? Pisces cycles, especially a Pisces cycle that is conjunct Neptune, challenges us to remain positive. Negativity is quite common when we have Pisces cycles, but especially so with Neptune involved. Again, Neptune was at an Easter promenade. It's about rebirth and infusion. Now, you also might remember that I noted that on March 22nd, we would have the Black Moon Venus conjunction, which is like possibly the best conjunction in astrology in my book. And I said to mark the day because usually something really good comes out of that. The Mueller report came out that day, or was passed on that day, or completed, I should say. And aren't we all glad that is over? Oh my goodness. It was also the second balsamic cycle of the year, the Pisces cycle. We had two balsamic cycles this year. What that means is we had a double opportunity, 2 months, the past 2 months, February and March, to purge, to let go of, to process, to tie up anything that had happened since the beginning of the astrological year at the Aries new moon on April 15th, 2018. The balsamic time of the year is the end of the cycle. Just like the balsamic moon phase each month is the end of the cycle. And what it does, or what it's the highest octave of that is clearing the field, purging, dealing with things, and creating a space for, or but basically like tilling up the field if we were farmers, which we are, farmers of consciousness, and to prepare to plant new seeds, a new crop, a new view. So I'd said we were going to find out that we really knew a lot more than we thought we did. So it was so confusing at the beginning of the cycle, and by the end of it, the idea was to be more clear. And we needed to see things manifest a little bit more. Spirit needed to infuse us, remember the flow of inspiration, and to confirm our instincts, and to perfectly position us to begin again for the new year. I talked about how, you might find yourself crying quite a bit during this cycle, but that's because of the purging of emotions. And it isn't necessarily just processing and sorting through and closing out. This astrological year, it may be a closeout of everything that's happened in your life up until this point. Okay, the cycles revolve, right? They roll on, and each time we come to balsamic, we have the opportunity to clear out, to um, to connect with spirit while the veils are thinnest, because the veils between the worlds are thinnest during balsamic cycles. To that collaboration with spirit, the mind coming so close in with spirit to help us see what we need to see, to help us move forward. We talked about Chiron moving into Aries, remember? And when it moved into Aries, of course, the Sabian symbol for the first degree of Aries is a woman has risen out of the ocean, a seal is embracing her. We talked about Chiron is the wounded healer and teacher, but Chiron is the master spiritual warrior. And Chiron pretty much trumps all other planets. I think I can safely say that after my 17 years of study of astrology. If you have two planets together, and that includes Pluto, Chiron will win. He's the master spiritual warrior. So we have a lovely thing that I have observed that's come on to the scene with this is a crop, a whole crop of these beautiful indigo children, the ones that we were waiting on, the ones that came, and the ones that are now in high school and early 20s, and they are on the scene. I fully expected a new group of spiritual warriors and spiritual wounded healer teachers to be born. Okay, so there are some of them that were born, but the ones that, like I said, are in high school and in their early 20s, they're now um, coming onto the scene and claiming their place on the scene, which is a wonderful thing because what it shows is the mass Great Awakening on schedule. Every time Chiron goes into Aries, spiritual justice warriors do their thing on the planet. Uranus. Let's talk a little bit about Uranus, our friend. Uranus is our friend. Why? Why, wise owls? Because it always puts us where we need to be. Uranus re-entered Taurus. And the first degree of Taurus, where Uranus was at the new moon, was the Sabian symbol of a clear mountain stream. So that's about refreshment, moving things, flow. And remember, we had it was the cycle of the flow of inspiration. In a quiet moment, a creative individual experiences the flow of inspiration. Uranus poured it in with the clear mountain stream, and then on March 26th, it moved to 2 degrees of Taurus, an electrical storm. The storm. Uranus will be discharging this degree, an electrical storm, until April 13th. This is Earth changes, okay? The electric universe, the electric field principle, and so many earthquakes happen this month. Be aware of this Uranus at an electrical storm because it's still at that degree. Uranus rules electricity, and with the storm, you bring that water element into things. We want to be sure until April 13th. Be extra cautious with electrical devices or appliances and water. Just take real good care. And if you're in a place where it's warm enough to be in the water, just take extra caution. One of the symbols that I just briefly mentioned was Jupiter at 23 degrees of Sagittarius, beginning to make conjunction with the galactic center. That was 23 Sagittarius. Is that what I just said? 23 Sagittarius, yes. Immigrants entering a new country. It's about promise. It's about new territory of the mind. And we saw the forming of the largest caravan on its way to the border of the U.S. Remember the last time we had this symbol in effect at the new moon? The same thing happened. Remember, it was the two caravans, the back to back. This one is bigger. Why? Because Jupiter's expansion, where is it? It's at the degree of the galactic center, what we would call in astrology, which is 27 degrees of Sagittarius. But that's limitlessness. Okay, that the galactic center is never ending. It is the direct gateway to spirit, and Jupiter expands anyway. It's just the lofty, expansive, energetic that spreads and just grows things and makes them huge, like Jupiter is said to be. And so here we have this caravan on the way. No surprise there. I want just to mention the Sabian symbols involved with the Venus Black Moon conjunction. They weren't conjunct at the beginning of the month. They didn't conjunct until the 22nd. But Venus at the new moon, so the imprint of Venus for the whole cycle, was 6 Aquarius. A masked figure performs ritualistic acts in a mystery play. And so it's about unmasking. I thought we might have declassification of the memo. Um, the black moon at the new moon was at 24 Pisces. A man turning his back on his passions teaches deep wisdom from his experience. And I said that that would be teachings, particularly from the divine masculine and from masculine energy, a transmutation to wisdom and knowledge and experience. So as the month progressed and Venus moved and got up to conjunction with the black moon, they made the conjunction at a mechanic testing a car's battery with a hydrometer. Okay, so we had the testing, the gauge, the transmutation, the masked figure, un- unmasked then with the Mueller report. So the point of me talking about that is when you're going to have a conjunction of planets within a cycle, go back to the new moon to see what degrees those planets were discharging at the time of the new moon. Because remember, that imprint rolls on all month. All of where each of the planets, whatever energetic they are discharging, that's going to unfold all month because it imprints at the moment of the new moon when the moon and the sun conjunct, when they come back together again each month. So this shows you how you can get or gain more information about how the Sabian symbols that were being worked at a new moon, and when they come together in conjunction, will give you a fuller picture. Okay, so what that is, the mechanic testing the car's battery, is it's an analysis, and it's going to show you where you're at. Right, you test your battery, oh, it's working or it's not working. That report is clearly pivotal. Clearly now, it's the turning point here. I think that the Aries new moon, okay, the beginning of this astrological year back on April 15th that we're closing out now, the through imagination, a lost opportunity is regained, took mind and heart, which is imagination, yes, or maybe mind, heart, and spirit, and throughout the year tried to bring something back for us, to regain a lost opportunity. We're supposed to gain knowledge, break illusions, illusions that we're in a cage, or parameters around us that the universe has removed, or that we have removed from our minds, broken out of that by re-engaging our personal mission and our creativity. Because one of the things I think that this year wanted to help us see is the opportunities come from imagination. They're birthed in imagination, in that majestic rock formation idealized by a boy. Okay, right? It's about coming to a place where we gain something that we lost. You may not have landed on an outcome yet, but there's still 2 days left. But it's probably clear that your past ways are no longer working, acceptable, or desirable. And points us now to that new beginning. I don't think I personally have had a more appropriate or an experience that matched the Sabian symbol for the year as much I did this past year. And this is in large measure because of all of you, the beautiful Parliament of Wise Owls. I started out the astrological year the way I pretty much was going the year before that. And um, if you were following the Oracle Report, back in the fall, I was hospitalized with heart issues, to say the least. And I have no doubt that it is the grace of God, the love and beautiful energy sent to me by all the wise owls that did so, and my work on myself too, that has brought me to what I can only tell you is a miracle. I have had a complete recovery. And I mean a complete recovery. I am medication free, and I am no longer a human geomagnetic storm detector, and I'm restored. And I cannot thank you enough. It is a gift. It is something that I could not have imagined ever feeling better. I certainly wouldn't have imagined it in April. I had no idea what my lost opportunity would be regained. But with my health and my life, I regained the lost opportunity of my work, which I so love because it's enabled me to get to know all of you. And I just cannot thank you enough from the bottom of my heart. Prayers work, miracles happen, and it certainly did for me. I'm going to close out this audio now, with so much gratitude. I hope you regained an opportunity. We have a very lovely year coming for us with fairies dancing in the setting sun, because if you've been following me for a while, you know that that's the energetic of sunset on the New World Order. So now we approach sunset. I love you all. Take good care, and I will see you very soon to do the overview for the new astrological year.